This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about something that might have made this show a little bit better. I can't believe this is real. This is right out of the Observer. A name who met with Titan this past week, November 20th, was Cactus Jack. Jack, who has just moved from New York to Atlanta, was thought due to his look and style to be a wrestler the WWF would never be interested in, but times have changed. He was said to be very close to going, with some saying it could be shortly after Royal Rumble. Heyman supposedly told the WWF officials, which have been attempting to make friends rather than enemies, that he didn't want to lose Jack until he could properly finish up this current program, which he said would be April of 1996. And the WWF said they were in no hurry to bring him in. The WWF is also looking at ECW as a place where they can send their own wrestlers to get work next year, since they aren't going to be running as many house shows and guys are already complaining about not getting enough dates. Jack is longtime good friends with Troy Martin, aka the WWF's Dean Douglas, who is well known to be unhappy with his situation in Titan, which may prove to be a factor as well. A lot to unpack here. I guess to provide some context, WCW and Cactus Jack have parted ways. Cactus is now at this point either number one or number two, probably as far as an indie draw. And he is one of the featured performers for Paul Heyman's Extreme Championship Wrestling, which really started to take shape in 94, but most people think 95 was probably their best year creatively. And Cactus Jack is right in the middle of all that and showed America he could do a totally different style promo than what we had seen maybe in Dallas or Atlanta. JR has been a big proponent of this over the years. He's told us that eventually Vince would acquiesce to his push to sign Mick Foley, but I think you told us on the show, he really wanted him to wear a mask. And I think it was almost said maybe tongue in cheek that Vince, allegedly told JR, I'm going to let you hire this guy so you know what it likes to get your heart broken, because he just had no confidence in him. And of course we know right after WrestleMania 12, he's going to set the woods on fire as Mankind, and he's off to the races and becomes a bona fide Hall of Famer in anybody's Hall of Fame. Tell us about Cactus Jack's meeting here, November 20th, probably the first time he's ever met with Vince, right?
As a matter of fact, it was. There was one other close encounter that didn't happen at LaGuardia Airport one time. But Jack did not get an opportunity to meet Vince on that day. Is we were looking for people to come in, and Cactus was one of those guys that both, JR and I liked an awful lot. And sometimes how you push someone and insist, that you got to hire this person for whatever reason. I think that can hamper someone sometime, in that you have a preconceived notion and preconceived idea based on whoever it is that's putting them in front of you. So with Cactus, Vince saw the guy from WCW that did a lot of crazy things that Vince thought were too dangerous. And then several years later, agreed to let him take that bump off the cell, not the one through the cell, but the one onto the announce table.
Hey, before you move on, do you remember what bump really stood out to Vince? I think the one that a lot of people took, there was the whole match with Vader at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, where he pulled the mats up and took that bump onto the concrete.
Okay, so that was on the TV. I wanted to know if it was that, or perhaps that Mil Mascaras thing from Clash of the Champions, where he did a flat back on the concrete off of the apron.
It was a lot of that, and Cornette was also high on Cactus at the time too. Sure. And you have to look at how you sell someone, know your audience. Where Vince wasn't into the gore, and Vince wasn't into some of those crazy bumps, don't sell that part. Sell the part of the intelligent and psychology of Cactus and what he did, and the human being behind that, Mick Foley. And I didn't know Mick personally. I had met him before and talked to him. I was a big fan of his work, but everyone that I knew that did know Mick spoke very highly of Mick Foley, and just what a wonderful human being that there was behind that character. So it's, you sell the human being and the rest will come. And also during this time, Jack was doing a character in ECW that he was anti-hardcore, or he was hardcore, and he was the stuff that I loved and that I was able to show Vince a different side of Cactus was he was riding the merry-go-round with his daughter and chanting, "I'm hardcore, I'm hardcore," and then riding around in the little train in the amusement park, and I'm hardcore, and sitting in a side headlock for 15 minutes in a match and chanting, "I'm hardcore." And he was the antithesis of everything that ECW stood for. So it was brilliant. It was brilliant on Paul's part. It was brilliant on Mick's part. That character and that build of Cactus Jack. So when Vince saw that dimension, he saw, oh, well, wait a minute. This is some entertaining stuff. The guy doesn't have to yell and scream. He wasn't doing his Cactus Jack, bang, bang, Terry Funk impersonation. And he was being Mick Foley and telling us a story that people could relate to. So getting Mick in, and I think that JR and I were both extremely confident that once Mick Foley got in a room with Vince McMahon and was able to sit down with him, and they were able to have a conversation, that was all that we had to do. We just needed to get them in a room. And we finally did.
Do you remember Vince's takeaway after the meeting? I'm sure you've seen the look on Vince's face after you meet with a talent for the first time, and you can just tell, oh, that didn't go well, or holy shit, Vince loved this guy.
Well, I wasn't in the meeting with Mick and Vince, but Vince's reaction after the meeting, when he comes out and he starts pitching ideas right away, that's a good sign.
Right.
So, and that's exactly what he did. Vince came out and had this mankind image in his head and thought that old Mike Foley would be able to pull it off.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.